Hi, I'm Melanie Eusebe, and welcome to YQA, Your Questions Answered, where I take your questions and give you some answers. Some of the common questions that come across my desk that are in my inbox, and helping you to live your healthiest and wealthiest life by dealing with the most important part, the mindsets. So, I got a great question this week in regards to how to deal when you make a mistake. And I thought it was a great question, and I wanted to bring it to the show today because so very rarely do we even let ourselves make mistakes. Part of a growth mindset, part of really being progressive, is allowing yourself to go places where, you may not have permission to go, and also where you may mess up and you may not be perfect at it the first time. So if you've made a mistake, first things first is to acknowledge the fact that you've messed up and acknowledge the fact that you had a role in how things played out. And so that means acknowledging it to yourself. And in some cases, it also means acknowledging it to others. Hiding a mistake, I'm not saying that you should hide a mistake or you shouldn't hide the mistake. There are some mistakes that it's only about you knowing, and that's totally cool. And there are some where the repercussions and the circumstances, they're going to hit other people, and so you got to let them know as well. But first things first is that deep down in your heart, you need to acknowledge the fact that you messed up. And it's totally cool, because you know what? If you don't acknowledge it in your heart, you don't get the learning. Do you know how many mistakes were made before people had success? In this success culture that we have right now, we just look at the glory and the power of everything that was created. If we look at Apple, we look at Steve Jobs, we're saying, oh man, he's amazing, he built this amazing company. Y'all, I don't know if you all saw the biography, but you do know he got kicked out of his own company a few years before, right? So we don't tell that part of the story, that we mess up, that we don't get it right the first time. And that means that mistakes are going to be made. And that means that an apology has to be made as well, to yourself and to others. But making mistakes, if you deal with them properly, it won't prevent you and hamstring you from going forward in the future. But what I do want you to know today, this is a short, sharp, swift message to let you know that it is okay. I've messed up. I mess up all the time. But you know what I have? I have confidence to know that if I do mess up, then I will take responsibility for it, and I will also be able to keep it moving there afterwards. No one here is without error, guys. No one here. And so with the same grace, I want you to give grace to yourself. I want you to give grace to others, to be able to try new things, to do new things, and then also to come back and be able to try again. I want to leave you with a little story. I remember there was as you guys know, I fight for diversity. I fight for inclusion and access. And I remember I met this gentleman a few years before who had, he just was not down for kind of gender equality in the workplace. Small business, he felt that it was really unsafe for, to kind of give mat leave because, that could really impact a small business if a woman leaves. And that's why he didn't want to hire a woman at the same rate and same pay grade as he would hire a man. And so I remember hearing him on a panel, and I thought, wow, that guy is, whoa, okay, I get you. Whoa. But, very differing views. However, a few years later, 5 years later, I remember I was at a different event, and actually he was now an advocate for gender equality in the workplace. And so I thought to myself, hey, that's really amazing. He totally changed around his perspective. And I talked to him about it afterwards, and he said, I changed for several reasons. There are a lot of things that changed in my life, but I changed my perspective, and I am sorry that, in terms of some of the things that I know I said around you, in the session that we were in a few years ago. And this is not about the apology. What this is about the fact that he was able to say, I made a mistake, and he was able to accept it and own it. And if you can't let other people make mistakes, and if you aren't letting yourself make mistakes, then you start to live in a really rigid and cold place. And so I'm not saying that people should be able to hurt you over and over and over again. That is not what I'm saying. But if you don't let people make mistakes and grow from them and change from them, then you pretty much are ensuring that they're going to stay exactly the same, doing the same behaviors that upset you the first time. So it's a two-way street, my friends. It's about having grace with others, and it's also about having grace with yourself. And the world becomes a much fuller, much richer place if you allow yourself to make mistakes and also allow others to make mistakes. This moment is only a snapshot in time. It's not a character trait, so keep it moving. So not necessarily strictly business or strictly about money or strictly about leadership, but it's strictly about mindsets and mental health. So if you do have any comments, if there are other ways that you deal with when you make mistakes, or how do you encourage others to be able to make mistakes around you, then let me know. Drop a note in the comments below, or hop on over to melanieusebe.com. Drop me a line over there. The conversation is always hot. It's always happening. And you can register for my newsletter while you're there. That means you'll be first dibs to know about Money Hack Mondays, expert the content, the events, the giveaways. It's all there, and it will be emailed to you on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for tuning in again, my friends, and I will see you again next week.